Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. My guest today is Eric Bigger. Eric is a TV personality. He is a fitness expert, a motivational speaker, founder of Miracle Season, and author of Spiritual Fitness. You may recognize Eric from The Bachelorette and other reality TV appearances. But our conversation today is all about the methodology, the framework behind spiritual fitness, what that means, how you can incorporate it into your everyday life. We also explore the role of feminine and masculine energy within spirituality. We also talk about how to pray, how the role of breath work and mindset as well when it comes to spirituality. Eric also shares the experience that he had navigating reality TV and also his experience moving through his own dark night of the soul. Overall, this conversation is so inspiring because Eric really truly has this positive energy that he brings to every space. And I just know that you're going to receive something from this conversation. So enjoy. Hi, I'm Renee Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome to the podcast, Eric. I am so looking forward to this conversation.
How are you? Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we have something to celebrate because your book will be coming out just a couple of days after this episode releases on August 8th. So I'm sure that is no accident that it's on the 88 portal.
Yes.
Spiritual fitness.
It's
Amazing.
here. The new
I love
transmission
it.
to change the fitness collective and community for its highest good. You know, our consciousness is a muscle as well, So
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy that the book is officially will be out, the 88 portal,
Yeah.
and I get to celebrate and talk about it here with you and everything else spiritually wired, right? So we say.
Yes.
And we're here.
Yes. So I saw you, Eric, on stage about a year ago is when I started following you. And then when you started talking more and more about this concept, this idea behind spiritual fitness, I mean, of course, it is so aligned with the message that I teach as well. And you were just like it was just a perfect alignment in terms of having you on the podcast. But I'd love to kind of start with you sharing what your spiritual path or journey has looked like, if it was like one defining moment or more an evolution of moments that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, so my journey started when I was 16.
Mhm.
I remember praying a lot before bed, and it was unusual because I didn't grow up in a church. My parents didn't force me to go to church, but I had this connection with God in prayer. And I remember being in the bed at 16, I would get this thing over me like, oh, I gotta pray. So then I would pray every night. I would pray so much. At night I would pray while I'm tired. I'm like, oh, I forgot to pray. Dear God, just bless me, protect me, make me better. Right? There's general prayers. I'm 16. I'm in high school, and so over the course of the time, I started looking at my life. I went to junior college, and then when I went to a 4 year, and I look back, I was like, everything I prayed for has come to life. Everything I prayed for has manifested or come to fruition. So I was like, interesting. But I never leaned deeper into that part of prayer. But that's where my spirituality started, my connection to God. However, going to LA at 22, fresh out of college degree, graduated with honors, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna be good. I wanted to go to grad school. I had an abrupt awakening that no, you got to show us who you are. right? We don't care about the college degree and the excellence you had in school. And so I went on this another journey of, I would call it spiritual consciousness, personal development, where I would read books, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Mary Morrissey, and so on and so on. And I went on that journey of like, what am I? Why am I here? And what is life about? I went to school. I have a degree. I didn't take the government job that was more structured and common for most people at the time. I didn't like it, so I took a risk and I came to LA with $1,000, and I knew one person, and that's when I got me into personal development, and then my life started to open up. Right after I probably read Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinking, but it was The Secret that really like took it over the top. And I was working at a shoe store, chic shoes, making $8 an hour. It was so humbling with a college degree. And when I started doing this material, I probably was like 9 months in the job, and I really wasn't making commission on the shoes I was selling. It was a sneaker store, a shoe store. Once I started doing the material, I started making money off commission. I had booked like some background commercials that went viral. That was like they picked it up, and I got paid 15,000. And then I had like this general manager from Abercrombie come in the store and say, "Do you want to work as a manager?" It's like my life started to change because I was doing the work that no one saw. And boom, I left that job. I went to Abercrombie and Fitch. I was a manager. I loved it. I had the control I thought I wanted, and I still wasn't satisfied. And Bob Proctor, I was at 24. Bob Proctor said something, and he's like, "If you feel it, you got to do it, and just do it." And I'm like, I have getting this idea of an app, like a app to create. It's called Eric Bigger Successful Living. So I created this app, and right after I created the app, I quit my job. So here I go on another journey, trying to believe in myself, and that's when I started in personal training. And from there, it was a roller coaster. I went through so many trials and tribulations because I didn't know what I was doing. But I had my personal training practice. I was selling water machines. I was working at the nightclub. I was doing Uber, but I still was doing the work. That didn't change. And yeah, I would say probably 4 years after that, that's when TV came into my life, The Bachelorette. And then my life really opened up, and then my life changed. All my dreams came true, and I was on and going. And but I've always been training, I've always been spiritual, and I've always been willing to grow and do the work to arrive. And that I did, and until 2023. That's when I went through another reset or spiritual awakening. And that's when spiritual fitness started to like kind of come through my channel for me to accept it as something that I can use as medicine for myself, but to help others change their life. And so it is. It's been what, almost 3 years since then, and took 2 years to write the book, and here we are.
Wow. There's a lot of different places I want to get into,
Get in
but
there.
let's
Get in
start.
there.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get in there, but let's start
Yeah.
with the like, so the spiritual fitness, just kind of coming back to that, because you
Yeah.
mentioned that you were, like you are a fitness trainer. So like
Yes.
when we all think of fitness, we think of like the physical bodies and training the body.
Yeah.
And so what is the merging of spirituality and fitness for you? How did that come about? And what does it mean? Is it a method, or
Yeah.
what does it look like in someone's life?
Yeah. So great question. So it's the Eric Bigger method. And it came into my life because in 2023, when I went through that dark night of the soul, all I had that gave me life was the gym and prayer, right? I would work out twice a day and I would pray. I was in a very, tough relationship towards the end that I was coming out of. My dad was in and out of the hospital. I was having an identity crisis from being in Hollywood, being on TV and being famous. And I had to find a way to scale my life, but change my life, but also scale my business. But spiritual fitness saved me because I didn't have anything but what was inside of me, my connection to God, and I knew I could go work out. Movement is energy. And I believe when you're in the dark night of the soul, you're in your winter season of your life. It's dark, it's cold, you don't know what to do. The best thing to do in those cycles, the winter cycle of life, is to move your body, move your energy. And then that's how creation comes in. So inside of the container of spiritual fitness, we have intention, we have movement, we have breath work, affirmations, then we pray. right? So if you, Renee, if you would come to me and you're saying, Eric, my life is great. I have everything I want, but I feel like I'm missing something and I'm spiritually curious. Say that's your intention. We would kind of move through that intention, and whatever happens in this 45 minutes of movement, things will come up, synchronicities, your intuition will be allowed or be alive. Your things will just come in, and then in that space we'll breathe, we'll do affirmations, and then we'll pray about it. And over time, not only will your life and your body change, but your consciousness will change, right? Because before I walk into spiritual fitness, I'm setting up a prayer to hold the space. So remember, people listening, the spiritual fitness, the Eric Bigger method is intention, movement, breath work, affirmations, prayer. And guess what? It's based on your custom channel, not what I'm saying. Your fitness today, Renee, might be let's go walk for an hour. Cool. With having an hour, whether it's contemplation, you're doing jumping jacks, your jumper, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is for you, that's how you become spiritual fit. This conversation can be considered spiritual fitness. You don't always have to move, but we're moving energy, right? So if
Mhm.
you're dealing with some deep, heavy stuff, my energy allows that to come up for you to talk about it with peace and no resistance because you feel safe in the space. So, big picture, spiritual fitness is training your conscious muscle to be
Mhm.
developed, to be transformed, to be renewed, so you can elevate and demonstrate what you're here to do through your soul and your life's work, right? Because we have the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the physical body, but no one talks about that soul body. So spiritual fitness gets you connected to that soul part of you that's for your highest good.
I am appreciating this so much, and it is unique. I mean, I've been in the field of spirituality for a while, but to really kind
Yeah.
of intentionally use fitness and use movement as a way to, I mean, the way I would experience that for me has been in my yoga practice. But
Mhm.
I love how you're accessing it because it's so true how when you speak to people, so often our intuition comes through when we are in movement, like it is when you're working out, when you're walking, when you're, opening up the body, because the body is the channel that receives
Yeah.
the information, the downloads. And so I absolutely love how you're bringing the two together intentionally, not kind of as
Yes.
separate, but as being one.
Yeah. It's so
Hmm.
if you look at it like this, let's go deep, right? So spiritual fitness, spiritual is feminine, right? It's the
Hmm.
essence of like the mom, the receptivity. You receive the message. The receivership is the feminine. The fitness is the masculine, the doing, right? The quarterback throws the ball, right? And so when you
Yeah.
have spirituality, you have the awareness and you have the trust. The fitness is the integration and the embodiment, the feminine with the masculine. And then you become whole. That's a complete cycle. That's a divine
Mhm.
union within your physical vessel, right? But when you just have the physical and you don't understand the spiritual and you're just in a mental or ego, your ego consciousness, which is competition, comparison, soul conscious is creation, collaboration. So I'm bringing you into your coherence of creation and collaboration with the creator through your soul, through your vessel as we move. I'm just a space holder.
Absolutely. It's like bringing the two together. And you're mentioning, and I know that it's not a gender thing when we speak of masculine and feminine energy, but
Yes, it's not.
one of the questions that I actually wanted to ask you is what do you find like as a man embracing your spirituality and speaking about it? Because I first started my spiritual journey 20 something years ago. And back then, I kind of called it that I was like in the spiritual closet for years because no one was
Yeah.
talking about it. It was very much, I had a few people that I felt safe enough to share, but I felt like I was on that path by myself. Now I mean, everyone's talking about it. It's almost like trendy to be spiritual, but yet
Yeah.
there's still something between men. I do think that men are still holding back a bit. They're still not as willing to kind of be open and share. So what has been your perspective or your experience with men?
Well, the main thing is that I love men, and I think we're great in a lot of way. I love my brothers. I love the fathers, the husbands. It's great, but we're behind, right?
Mhm.
We're behind,
Mhm.
and we don't
Mhm.
have a strong identity on what being spiritual looks like, so we don't feel safe in it. There's no evidence. There's no blueprint of what does spirituality look like for a man, unless you're doing plant medicine retreats, you're hiking in the mountains, you're off the grid, right? So it doesn't account for the majority of the men who are not in that space. They're more on the everyday working, they're in the office in corporate America, they're in business, blue collar workers. They're like, what? We put skyscrapers together. Like, I'm not gonna be sitting listening to my intuition or feeling my feelings. Doesn't make sense. So when something is not uh if there's not a blueprint for it and there's no evidence and there's nobody leading the pack or leading the crowd, we don't really pay attention, especially if it don't make money. Let's talk about it. So I think men were behind in our consciousness. Our consciousness can't receive spirituality the way it wants because the condition is that it's weaker or it doesn't help the material realm. So for me in my practice, what I realized coming across husbands and men in general, friends, men don't feel safe to be vulnerable. They don't feel safe to feel their feelings. They don't feel safe to speak their truth because they think they're going to be judged or their feelings are going to be used against them. So until we create a safe space, i.e., men, until we create a safe space within self, it doesn't matter what I'm saying, doesn't matter what you're saying. We're going to be behind the eight ball because guess what? Times are different. The women are in power. They have the magnetism. They have the money, the businesses that men had for years. And guess what? A lot of their things have been suppressed. They've been oppressed. They've been, challenges and changes within a female collective that has made them more resilient than the average man because, we live in a man's world. It's just what it is. However, now it's like, okay, fellas, we got to come up the ladder and we got to really tap into our spiritual currency because that is what's going to have everything that you want be stabilized and have a strong foundation. Because I'm privileged to work with a lot of high end CEOs, majority women that trust my masculine. Why is that? Because I feel safe to them, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes as men, because we don't know how to feel safe within ourselves, unconsciously we might not allow. We don't know how to make the women, the partner, the person feel safe unless we're in control, unless we have the power, we have the money, we have the means. But emotionally and spiritually, we're just not in that space as much. And it's not a bad thing, it's just a real thing that we have to work on. Because I'm getting the phone calls. I'm getting the phone calls from the guys that are afraid to express their feelings, but they want love so bad. And so I gotta motivate them. Hey, go tell her how much you love her and what she did hurt your feelings. I need you to go speak that. Then they go do it. And then the girl comes back, the woman comes back, and she gives her vulnerability, and he gets the words, I love you, or I'm sorry, I miss you, I didn't know. And then now that intimacy is connected because I knew how to empower the man to go talk to the woman in a way that made her drop her guard. And now they're in this space together because everyone was authentic on how they felt, right? Because I'm getting the phone calls from the men. They just not
Mhm.
sharing it with their spouse or the women they're with because they don't feel safe. So if men don't feel safe, women and kids are not safe. In order for this world to be safe, us as men, we got to get into a container where we can feel safe within ourselves. I believe women are like the ocean, men are like the earth. So if my body is the earth of life, when a ocean is coming like a tsunami, I got to be able to hold my ground and not let my earth crack because the ocean is wants to take over earth, right? But if you don't have the tools, you don't have the information, you don't have the mentors, you don't have the resources or the opportunity because you don't feel safe, you're not going to naturally walk into that space because there's no evidence of it. So I'm going to stay in the old story. I'm only going to provide and protect and love you as much as I can, but not deep as I can because that's not what I'm conditioned to. Or maybe some are, but it's not, there's no medicine for men to be spiritual or in their feminine essence where it benefits them in a material that they can see. I mean, it's funny because Tony Robbins, the way he speaks now, he talks about being in your heart. He talks
Mhm.
about being in your soul. He talks about co-creation. He talks about collaboration. I'm like, okay, he's making a switch. He's making a change. I've studied Tony for years. This is my guy. He's a Pisces like me. I relate a lot to his medicine. So I'm even saying it to him when he had the conversation with Alex Hormozy. That's the Tony Robbins is the more evolved masculine. Alex, it's not that he's not evolved. He's just in the old paradigm of that, right?
Yeah.
And both are great, but the world is needing this new paradigm because that's what's going to keep us safe long term. Not our money, not our power, because you can have it all and still not feel safe inside yourself.
Yeah, and that's where the work that you're doing, I do believe part of why it's so important as well is, as you were touching on before, is bringing the masculine energy to spirituality, because I do feel
Yeah.
that men resist spirituality as it's being presented kind of mainstream because it's more kind of feminine in nature. And then
Yeah.
there's a resistance to it. And we need more men like yourself stepping up and being
Yeah.
owning their spirituality and showing that it doesn't have to look only a certain way, that it gets to
Yeah.
look whatever it is that it's meant to be for you. But and such a great point with Tony Robbins. I've really noticed that too, like how there's so much more. He's infusing so much more spiritual. I'm seeing it at all of like the kind of male thought leaders that we've been following for
Yeah.
years. There's so much more spiritual intention behind it now,
Yeah.
or
And it's
willingness to
important.
speak in that way.
Yeah, because it's the world is changing. We're in the age of Aquarius now, right?
Yeah.
So things are more about humanity, the collective consciousness, technology, innovation, spiritual fitness, and also to 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 acknowledge I'm a man's man, right?
Mhm,
I'm gonna
mhm.
cry with you. I'm gonna fight with you. I'm gonna be in the dirt with you. I'm gonna be in the sunshine with you. I'm gonna smile with you. I'm gonna be upset with you, and guess what? I'm gonna still love you. So I'm not just this one man that's just like, oh, I'm just gonna, love and light. That's it. Like, no, let's get our hands dirty. Let's
Yeah.
go and get uncomfortable so we can get to the places we need to go. And I'm right there with you. I'm front line. And however you want to do it, we can do it. But I can be heavy in my masculine, heavy in my feminine, but I decide to be in both and bring that to life so everybody can feel safe. Right? People that's been in the military or people who's been incarcerated, you name it, I can be with those guys and be fine.
Let's actually go back to the method that you share, because I'd love for us to go a little bit deeper into each one of them. So you have intention, movement, breath work, affirmations, and prayer. So
Yes.
what does that look like I can see it when someone is working with you, but when someone is, let's say, applying this method to their own life, what does it look like for them?
Yeah, so basically it will work depending on what environment they're in, gym, corporate America, home. What's your intentions for your life, right? That's number one. What's the intentions for your life, or what's your intentions for your day? And within your life, within that day, what movement are you making towards for that intention to come alive? And then how are you breathing through that intention throughout the day? What affirmations are you saying, thinking, or mantras are you iterating outside of yourself to call it in? And how are you praying about this thing? Are you praying in fear? Are you praying in lack? Or are you praying in declaration? Are you praying as if it's happening? Are you praying in a healthy, neutral state, neutral vibration? So, a lot of times I went to an event. A lot of times I meet people, they want love or they want money, right? That's always like a constant. So then I'm like, okay, what does money and love have to do with you? Well, I want to make money. I want to be in love. Okay, cool. Do you love yourself? Right? What's your relationship with money? So I say all that to say, I think for people, we don't know what we want. We let the world tell us what we want. Spiritual fitness actually bring you into what your soul wants for your life. And this formula, this method allows you to make it clear to have those things come in. So with the intentions you're setting, what are the action items? What is your line action? What is how you breathing this into your everyday reality? What are you affirming throughout the day and throughout the cycle? And how are you praying about it? Right? Because I think sometimes we can generalize, I want love, I want money. Okay, cool. Do we know how much money? Do we know what type of love? Or do you receive love from gifts and words? Or do you receive love from acts of service and quality time? I think spiritual fitness makes you go deeper into your soul, into your unconscious, the mind that you don't know exists because you probably haven't done the work, or you don't feel safe in that space when your intuition is telling you to leave a career, to leave the divorce, leave the marriage and get a divorce, to leave your hometown or country. It doesn't make sense. So we live in a logical space within our bodies and mind. We don't live in a spiritual space in our bodies and mind because there's no evidence to say, well, the unseen realm is true because we can't see it. So when you can't see something, you take less action. But when you can see it, you believe it. But in spirituality, it's all about the awareness of not seeing a thing to know that thing can appear.
Okay. I'm really glad that we went there because I was still seeing it within the realm of fitness, of like how it looked like there. But what you're saying is that the method applies outside in
Yes.
life into everything that you're wanting. Like you're intentional about what you want to bring in, taking action. So the movement is not just physical movement, but also the taking action towards
Yeah.
what you want, the breathing into it, so important, the affirming, the really being in the energy and the space of what you're calling in. And then the prayer. And you said something about prayer, like how are you praying? And I think that sometimes people, there's confusion because not everyone knows how to pray. So how do you teach people to pray? Like, what is the right way to pray?
I believe the right way to pray is to pray in a neutral state or a higher frequency where you're not in scarcity, lack, or you're in fear. So
Yeah.
the main thing is to be in thankful and be in gratitude. Thank you, God, for this
Mhm.
podcast. Thank you, God, for spiritually wired. Thank you, God, for making this episode so phenomenal and rich that people can feel it, receive it, have it, and they integrate and embody this episode for their highest good. God, thank you for using me today in spiritual fitness to be the transmission for people's lives, to feel safe, to be certain, to have trust. God, thank you for making us amazing and allow me to receive as much as I give and allow me to listen and ask the right questions. Da, 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 da. Thank you, God. Amen. Right? So I'm not saying, God, please make this episode the best episode. God, please let Renee put the podcast or God. No, we're not doing that. We're calling
Yeah.
in what we want to see. We're telling the universe. I'm so thankful for Spiritually Wired podcast. I'm so thankful that I get to talk about spiritual fitness through my vessel. I'm so thankful that God is using me for my highest good to tap into other people's God frequency, right? Because when you are in
Mhm.
your power and I'm in my power and we're spiritually wired, that's the ripple. That is spiritual fitness, right?
Mm.
Look at like your podcast, right? You had an idea, which was an intention. You took action, you created it, you followed the nudges, you listened to your intuition, you trust your discernment. Or how about a more general terms? People say follow the breadcrumbs. If you follow the breadcrumbs, the loaf will appear, right? So when you start trusting the intangible part of life, which is the spiritual part, and you do it over and over, and you're getting evidence that it works, that's when you become spiritually fit outside of the gym.
Mm.
Right?
Love it. I could
Yeah.
feel you like really be tapped in and really be
Yeah.
kind of
So when
in
I'm in the
that
space
zone.
teaching and coaching, I'm in it. It's like
Yeah.
it's like Tony Robbins when he's on stage or the pastor on the stage at church. I'm so in that evolution of that and that essence. I'm not even thinking about. I'm just letting my channel work, and my channel is making you feel safe to tap into your channel. Now your channel's hitting my channel, and our channel's going out, and they were transmitting higher power and energy, and everybody's feeling like, oh my God, what just happened? You just have a spiritual
Right.
fitness experience. That's why I can't tell people if you do this and do that. It's like no, you got to get in the energy and you got to experience it. This not no.
Mhm.
If you do this, you do that. No, if you do this, they might go this or even go bigger, right? Because it's your channel. I'm just giving you the tools that help my channel evolve. Now you get to use the tools from what I'm giving you to tap in what your channel makes sense, right? So it's truly teaching people how to co-create with themselves and God because my vessel and the creator has come to me and say, look, in order to be in spiritual fitness you have to have a spiritual business, and it has to be true co-creation. I can't be in competition, I can't be in compare, I can't worry about what another person's doing. That doesn't attain to where I'm going. But in most of life we're programmed to compete and compare. What are the numbers? Do you got, are you number one? It's like, yeah, but number one in whose world? But if you're
Mhm.
anchored in your truth and in your heart and you're fulfilled, that's more than any number you'll get. Not that you don't want to be number one, you don't want to strive for excellence. But when you in your God intelligence, that God flow, that God frequency, that spiritual currency, and you're thriving, that's the ultimate medicine that you need and everybody around you is going to benefit from. And so I think the more we can get people in that frequency and vibration, the world will over time change for its highest good. And that's why they say Jesus consciousness, truth consciousness, Christ consciousness is back. It's all the same thing. It's a consciousness at a higher level to not be in lack and limitation. It's to be in abundance, in creation and prosperity,
Yeah,
manifestation.
And that's the piece that I think is so important that you're bringing to our conversation is where does it come from? Because when prayer comes from a place of lack, which it can often be, right? And it's not there's no judgment when you are down on your knees, when things are not going your way. There is a sense of scarcity, and maybe that is the evidence that you're seeing. But praying from there is different than praying from a place of being in the abundance or in the gratitude of what is. And it's kind of like the question that is coming to me, Eric, because you mentioned you going through a dark night of the soul, having those moments. So for someone who maybe is right there in their dark night of the soul, how where do you find the resource to tap into the energy of abundance when maybe all the evidence around you, everything that you're seeing, your reality feels like one that is lack?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to mind that I know works, you gotta switch from that lack into what are you grateful for? Because you can't have abundance without gratitude, right? So, prime example, in 2023, when I was in my dark night soul, because I was in a low frequency, I was in a low vibration. My dad kept going to the hospital. I talk about this in the book. It's the prayer chapter, and I thought my dad was going to transition. But mind you, I'm in a low vibration. I'm having an identity crisis. I'm kind of lost in life. I don't know. I couldn't go in a lack vibration to save his life or help his life. When I got the call from my sister that my dad couldn't breathe and he was getting rushed to the emergency, it's something like powered me up and said, "Oh no, I'm going to pray." I went straight into prayer. I got on a flight the next night. I prayed again. He was out of the hospital in 2 days. Not because like, "Oh my God, Dad, oh God, please say." I didn't wasn't it. No, I was in my power. No, 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 no. Let's go, right? So I think gratitude is the way you get into a space of abundance and out of lack because okay, you can have lack, you can feel like things are not working, but you have a phone, you're breathing. Some people didn't make it to the day, right? You have your health, you have your limbs, you can see, you can smell, you can hear. And I know it's corny to say, but you gotta change your mindset. You gotta change your thinking. If we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. You know, imagine someone that's having a very lack scarcity mentality and they see a poor kid in a third world country can't eat, their whole energy gonna change. Because they're like, I don't want them to be that way because now you can see what you have. So gratitude is the fastest way to make that shift, right? And if you can't do gratitude, I would say breath work. Breath work is prayer for the body because breath work gets you out of your mind. Because you know, sometimes when you meditate, your mind can still be racing, you can still be ruminating and thinking about things. But if breath work, it actually drops you in your body and you can feel again, you can feel life. Like, and last but not least, having support, having somebody that loves you unconditionally that you can talk to, or someone you trust. And this is why mothers are so powerful and so important because I've seen moms, single moms, take care of their babies no matter what the circumstances are, no matter if they got to work 4 or 5 jobs. No matter where they're stepping in and saying, "No, I'm going to take care of you," because they have something to look forward to. Some of us don't have something to look forward to because we're so into the ego of self. Tony Robbins talks about it. He said, when you're in a low vibration or you're feeling depressed or anxious, it's because you're in the I, you're in the ego. I can't do this. I don't have this. But if you're in service and you're thinking about another, you take yourself out of the ego of your suffering and say, let me give. That's what they say. The more you give, the better you live. That's what they say. People who give away more money, they make more money. It's data that's backing that. So I think the best thing is gratitude, breath work, and support. Getting some support
Love that.
and knowing that you can change. Because if I came and you was feeling bad and say, for instance, someone like, I don't have no money, and I give you $100,000, now what? What just changed? What just changed? No, 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 no. You got $100,000. I just gave you. You just say you need money. I give you $100,000. What just changed? Did the money change you, or did you change because the money was in front of you? But now, say I take the money back. There you go back in lack. You get what I'm saying? So this is how we got to understand. It's all in our mind. We're creating the lack because of what we don't see or don't have. The lack is not even real. I told a young woman DM me. She's like, I just need money till Friday. I said, okay. What if I told you I'm going to wire you 10,000? It's Monday, or wire you 10,000 and you knew it was coming Friday? Would things change in your reality? She was like, I said, right, because you know it's coming. I put yourself on the frequency, but the fact that you can't see it's coming, you don't think it's going to work, so you stay in lack. And we are three-dimensional beings. We go off what we see. But that's why you got to program the conscious and the mind to always be in an abundant state as much as we can so you can be more receptive to reality and not resistant to reality. So, yeah.
It's really a practice, right? To
Yeah.
stay in that place of abundance and to, have also hold so much grace for yourself wherever it is that you are.
Yeah.
Um, your company name,
Yeah.
Miracle Season Inc., which I
Yeah.
absolutely love. And,
Yeah.
when we set intentions, like even in my community and with my clients, students, like one of the things where I'm like, if you don't know what to ask for a miracle. Sometimes we feel so stuck in situations, we don't know what the next step is. So whenever you're feeling stuck, like ask for a miracle because you never know what can show up. But I'm curious where the idea of like miracle season came from for you, what it represents.
Yeah, so I've noticed this thing with my channel, with my vessel, that I'm good at calling big activations in for the world. So it's miracle season is the term. It came to me 2017. I was in Radford Studios in Studio City, California, and I was about to be on After Fried on Rolls, The Bachelorette. And I'm in the studio with the producer Louis, and I'm like, man, it's miracle season. It's just coming to me though, Renee. It's like it's miracle season. This is miracle season. And he's like, okay, my boy, I think you should say that when you go out there on stage because I was going to meet the Bachelorette for the first time. And you know how you have something in your mind that you want to say to the person and you actually say everything? I literally said everything. And I said, I look forward to meet you. And da 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 da. And I said, it's miracle season. And we just start dancing. It was like an activation went off in that moment. It's like a foreshadow. So that season of the Bachelorette, I went through a lot because the token that I use or the coin I use is that uh, miracles don't come easy, but they're worth it, right? I always like to
Mhm.
say a mom has a baby for 9 months. But anyway, on the show was a foreshadow. Like I went through so much in the house with the guys, and then me and the Bachelorette, and then boom, my miracle was I fell in love. I traveled the world for the first time. All my dreams came true. But I had to go through that metamorphosis of 9 to 10 weeks on TV and all those uncomfortable moments like a mom would in 9 months, right? Then here comes the miracle. So it was originated from the TV show. I put it out in the world, became its own thing. Chris Harrison at the time was the host. He said it. People on the show said it. So it became this thing like Bardica, like a saying. And so in 2024, I went out to Peru to do some plant medicine. I was on a medicine and I had a Miracle Season hoodie on, and my solar plexus was like, I was like, what is going on? It's like my solar plexus was getting so activated, and it came to me that Miracle Season is a healing frequency that ends all suffering. And what it was telling me is that I was chosen to bring it, it's a frequency. I was chosen to bring it into the world, into the universe. And so I can't say it's over, but I do feel like I serve that paradigm of my reality of my life. So anytime you say it, anytime you see it, it's actually healing you because words are powerful. Words have numbers coded in them, and it's healing you. And then, so now you got spiritual fitness, and now you got spirit. Not spirit. You got miracle season. It's miracle season. Now you have spiritual fitness. But these all came through my channel. I just trusted it, right? Like I was saying in life, and then I took
Yeah.
action, and then it became a thing. Like Miracle Seeds, I got shirts, hoodies, I got a trademark, I got wristbands. Now we in spiritual fitness, the IP of spiritual fitness. So yeah,
Okay. I love it. And this is the perfect transition into, I mean, there's not a lot of people who can say that they've experienced being a part of the whole Bachelor, Bachelorette franchise and all of the reality TV shows that you've been on. Um, what has that experience, and you've spoken about kind of like a paradigm shift, right? That who you are today, like there's been a shift in who you are today versus the version of you that maybe was on those shows. But
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, what can you tell us about what that experience was like, what you learned from it, and what you're kind of what you kept with you, like how it served you?
Yeah, I mean, the experience was incredible. The show actually
Mm,
helped me heal, right? The
mm,
show opened me up to heal, for healing to take place because it made me aware of the world, how the world sees all people, and who I am. And in that time, all my dreams came true. I mean, from national commercials, brand deals, starting a podcast, writing 2 books at the time, speaking on stages across the world. I mean, Dancing with the Stars, Family Feud. I lived my dreams. So my dream success was validated. It was activated. It was appreciated. However, because I was so much of my ego consciousness, not knowing, it made me really look at, damn, I'm not really in alignment of my soul the way I think. I'm kind of empty inside. Yet I have everything I ever wanted. I'm experiencing everything I wanted. It looked good, but I believe because of the work I was doing, my soul kind of outgrew that paradigm of reality. And being visible is not easy. You deal with a lot of feedback, a lot of constructive criticism, um, a lot of people projecting their thoughts and opinions, people talking about you, and you don't feel safe all the time. And it was hard for me to be in a relationship because I didn't know if people were dating me or the reality me, right? That I presented to the
right.
world. And I wasn't fully authentic to who I was. I was fully authentic into the character I was playing. The TV personality, Eric Bigger from The Bachelor. This positive guy is always smiling, but I never really showed too much of my depth because I was afraid that I wouldn't be accepted. And a lot of my success came from being not having the validation or the love or the nurturing I wanted when I was young. So I allow success. And usually this is like a father wound. When you don't have that, you want to strive to become something to get something. And then you realize the love wasn't as real as you thought because you wasn't real. And so it changed my life. It was incredible. It also gave me perspective and experiences how people view people that's in the spotlight and how people give their power over to us. And it really made me think like, damn, like I get why people want followers, why people want fame, why people want money and all the things, but it's not what it looked like. It's not what it looks like. It's nothing compared to what you really witness within it. On top of me coaching highly successful people, I'm also in those containers as well when I'm seeing like what they grow through. But it changed my life. I wouldn't change it for anything. I was able to having a phenomenal experience. I mean, being on the biggest TV shows in the world, uh, doing the things I love, working with some of the biggest brands, AT&T, Uber, Gatorade, Amazon. I've done it. Like, wow, great. And then I got to a point where my soul was like, okay, it's time to go to the another level, to the next level. And that's what spiritual fitness is about. And that's more of my soul's work and life's work. And it's been a game. It's been a thing, but I wouldn't change the past of those 7 or 8 years. It changed my life, but now I understand why I'm in the spotlight. Before I didn't understand. Like I knew I was great. I knew I had the energy to become and be more, but now I know I'm here to bring my light in these spaces to change the world and give them perception and perspective and let them know. Listen, I'm just a young man from Baltimore, Baltimore City. I didn't have my mom and dad in the same house growing up. So my life is different because I chose different, not because I was better. I seek the opportunity to choose different and listen to my intuition. And then my life
Hmm.
starts to unfold. And now we're here.
Thank you for sharing, yeah, that
Yeah.
perspective. And it really is a path, right? When for everyone who is listening, it's you zoom out and you can look back and take a look at all the different decisions and setbacks sometimes or detours or whatever it may be, but everything kind of happens for a reason. And so obviously that time and the spotlight that it gave you allowed you to fulfill your purpose in that unique way that is meant to be yours.
Absolutely. And you're able to see how people at a high level live life and what the perception of
Hmm.
life is at those levels and how people like I tell people, the people at the top that do well in life, they're probably working more than you if you think you want that. Like
Hmm.
way more than people think. And those people, at least the ones I've been connected to, they put in work. They put in the work
Yeah.
and they're still working to this day. And so I think we in the world we have this false sense of reality based on, I would say, the highlight reel of social media or the projections of what we think we know from what we see, but it's nothing what people
Yeah.
think because it's different. But that's why I said spiritual fitness is important because it allows you to go into what your soul is here to do. Not because that person did real estate, that person was on TV, that person is an influencer, that person does hair, or that person joined OnlyFans. You know, it's like, no, what does your soul want? What do you want? And I think that's where I want to teach people that you have a unique soul and you can create something through your soul essence. And it doesn't have to be anything compared to mine. It only can be compared to what your soul wants. And when you step into that, I feel like you feel so wealthy and rich inside, and you just want to share that with others.
Yeah. There's the movement piece too that's showing up, like where it's one thing to listen to your intuition. So even though for you going through that path, um, you knew, okay, I'm outgrowing this and there's something else for me, and yet the lure or the hold of staying where you are and doing the things, because that was kind of working too, right? So it takes a lot of courage sometimes to change direction or to step into what you know is your truth, because it can be sometimes feel safer to stay exactly where we are. So I really appreciate that you were able to choose something that was really authentic to who you are, even though it, I mean, in some ways may have felt
No, it's
different.
uncomfortable. No, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Entering a
Yeah.
call in your life is uncomfortable. The
It
gift,
is
your
always.
bank account, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
call, it is uncomfortable. Spiritual
Mm-hmm.
fitness is not always sunshine and rainbows. There's some days where I'm like, man, because I'm the
Yeah.
blueprint. I'm the
Yeah.
evidence. I'm the one creating it as we speak. It's not like you know how you have real estate and then you have realtors. Someone started that how many years ago, and then people fill the space of realtor. Now they're selling homes, right? Or real estate investor, where I'm creating spiritual fitness as the land owner of spiritual fitness, and then building homes on top of the land of spiritual fitness, right? Because I'm growing it and building it as I come. But it's not always easy, and it's not comfortable. Following your soul is not comfortable. Following your truth that you know works probably not in the moment, but down the line is uncomfortable because everyone is not on board. I know spiritual fitness is somewhat before its time, but I know where we're going, people are going to receive it well because they need it. This is a transmission to open up your essence within yourself to trust spiritual fitness. And just like what you do, what I do, or anybody in the world that has a business that's helping people, we are healers. Your business, my business is healing people, but God is coming through that business. You don't always got to go to church just to get to God. You can go to a fitness class. You can go to a podcast episode. You can go to a hairstylist or a barber. You can go to a restaurant, and you can still, all my clients, they're in their God flow, God frequency, even if they don't know it, because they're channeling, they're using their creation to create a business, and they've done well. And they're healing people through that business because they're in their unique expression from their soul, not from their ego. And I've been fortunate to call in these powerful people where they're my mirror. They're telling me, like, yeah, I'm this person. I'm this person. You got to be that person. Great job on the show. Great job on the commercials and the brand deals, but you are a brand. Make that a world renowned name and create something bigger than yourself that you can leave behind when you leave and leave inside of people when you leave their presence. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I think this is a perfect place for us to wrap up this episode, Eric. And for if you're listening, you definitely want to order a copy of Eric's new book, Spiritual Fitness. If you're watching us, you can see I love the cover. Amazing. I cannot wait to get my hands on a
Get it.
copy of the book. Yes.
And the forward is written by Dr. Michael Bernard Bethwick, Agape International.
Ooh,
Wrote
oh,
the forward.
love
He's a
him.
great friend, and he did me, yeah, great forward. So check it out, get the book in your hand, and honestly, when you read it, it's going to do something to your frequency. Because I read the rough draft, and I was like, is this what my energy feels like? Right? It was very soothing and very calm and very like, oh, it was nice. So you'll see. Get the book, get it on Amazon, and it'll be out everywhere August 8th. But Renee, thank you. You're amazing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, Eric, and to all of you listening. A reminder, as always, that you are spiritually wired for love, for success, for abundance, and for being spiritually fit. We'll see you
Amen.
next time.
It-
Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.